You're listening to a Frequency Podcast Network production.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
This is the Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Welcome to Friday. My name is Brock.
I'm Dalby.
It's payday, so I will say this. I know everyone's got their bills and stuff to pay, but if you got some extra funds and you want to help out the Canadian Cancer Society, you should head to BaDShop.ca.
Pick up a Brock and Dalby Show t-shirt.
Pick up the Dolby shirt. We're selling these shirts until next week. If you haven't heard, I got our friend Marty the Martiste to do a perfect rendering of what my man Dalby here is going to look like in maybe like 10, 15, 20 years.
I really hope not, because I don't look... It's a great drawing. It's very funny. But if I look like that in real life, I will feel like things didn't go my way.
I'm not even kidding when I say it. It's the best I've ever seen you look, honestly.
So mean. He's covered in liver spots, super bald, bushy beard, hunched over with a cane.
Well, the bald part, there really isn't much difference there, but...
I'm bald by choice currently.
Regardless, you know what? I'll throw it in the podcast description there. We'll throw a link there.
Yes, we'll do show links. You'll be able to click right on BaDShop.ca.
If you haven't seen the shirt, at least take a look at it of what my man's going to look like in the future. And if you want to help out a great cause, anything on our website goes to the Canadian Cancer Society, but we're only selling these shirts for one more week.
Yeah, we will never take any kind of profit personally or for the company on any of our merchandise. We don't believe in that. Every dollar that goes over the cost of the shirts and production will go directly to the Canadian Cancer Society. But for my own ego's sake, the shirts that make me look like a frail old man stop selling on Wednesday.
The only thing that we get out of it, I get the pure joy of seeing this on people's bodies over the summer.
Seeing my face around town.
Go buy one. It makes Dalby mad.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
You know, being naked is, for some reason, something that most of us feel weird doing, you know?
I think the biggest thing about it for me that makes it awkward is that I have reflective surfaces in my home, so I have to be aware when I'm naked.
Being naked outside of your home is even weirder. This Saturday, the city of Toronto is having their 20th annual naked bike ride where people will just be naked, riding bikes, giving everyone a sneak peek, you know?
It's one of those events where I'm like, hey, if this is something you're comfortable with and it's all organized and everything, you know, have fun.
I will say, if you're a pedestrian and you don't know what's going on, it could really take you by surprise.
Just watching, 50 to 100 naked people come biking past
I don't know,
you.
maybe even more, dude. From some
how
of the
many people
photos
do
I've
this.
seen from previous years, like, they get a lot of people out there, man.
All I know is it couldn't be me. I don't have that dog in me.
So you know how they've got those rental bikes in Toronto that you can just pick up, you swipe your credit card kind of thing?
Oh, people are not.
So the city is asking people if they're going to use the public rental bikes to please wipe down the seats and handlebars after using them.
Wipe them down with what? A flamethrower? No, you cannot put your whole naked self on a bike and then just return it to a slot later.
I mean, then again, they are public bikes. I'm sure they've seen worse, dude. But I get it. The only skid marks should be from the tires, so valid. But is it just me? Think about this for a second.
Okay.
Bare ass on a hot black plastic bike seat?
I used to bike a lot. I used to love biking. It was like my primary form of exercise. And even in that period of my life where it was my favorite thing to do, I never once felt comfortable on a bike seat.
Dude, you get biker's ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get those weird little cramps or almost like a bruise or something in there.
You start getting worn in a place that you weren't prepared for. You got muscles you didn't even know you had that are suddenly getting sore, and nothing feels right. Now to take away the protective layer of both underwear and pant?
Yeah.
No.
Well, not even the bike seat. Just think about, like, stuff that flies up at you while you're biking sometimes. Like, you got the old meat stick hanging out there. Like,
not to mention, you are in a pack with dozens of other people. Their tires are kicking stuff
dude,
up.
imagine if they get, like, one of those Tour de France type crashes where, like, one person just stumbles. Like, something gets caught in a spoke or a chain or something, man.
No, come on. Dude!
I feel like you'd have to practice, honestly, riding a bike naked. Like, it's not, like, I don't think it's something you could just do and feel comfortable with the first time.
Would
right?
you say it's not like riding a bike?
Yeah. You gotta figure out your setup, how you're adjusting things. Do you wear a helmet? If you're going full nudist, do you wear a helmet though?
No, because I think to your previous point about imagine a Tour de France style crash with you're fully naked.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I'm going to crash in that situation, I want to go quick.
Yeah.
I don't want to still be alive to suffer through it.
There would be some huge irony if everyone's wearing like helmets and stuff, you know?
Biker gloves?
Biker gloves.
The fingerless gloves? That's the only thing
The
you're
gloves
wearing.
feel way weirder if you're naked. Honestly, we can all agree on that, right? The gloves feel very weird.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Got a text in here from James who said, do you think they're wearing shoes?
Oh, especially if you got metal pedals on your bike. Like having that feeling, I've ridden a bike barefoot before. It sucks.
Well, also, and tell me if I'm wrong on this.
Okay.
When you're naked and you put on shoes, don't you feel more naked? Does that make sense?
You know, I'm trying to think of like a time in my life where I was wearing nothing but shoes.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's come up, but I think even just like picturing it, it feels like because you have to go past so many steps.
You feel like you're like Sonic the Hedgehog or something. You know, like Mickey Mouse, especially if you have the gloves on too.
I would feel faster if I was only wearing shoes.
But like there's times where like I remember go up to like Muskoka or whatever and you go skinny dipping and then you like throw your shoes on to like run back to the cabin.
Right, because you're traversing terrain that's not really great
you
for
feel
bare feet.
more naked with the shoes on. Like
By
it's
putting
like
it on, yeah.
it's almost feels like everything else is enhanced.
It accentuates the fact that you're not wearing anything else.
Yeah.
Shoes are generally the last thing you put on. Everything else is on, then you put on shoes. Now you jump to the end of the line and it just makes you go, oh no.
Yeah. I feel like it's one of two things. You're doing something innocent if you're naked with shoes on, or you have a plan.
True.
Right?
Yeah, no one's casually. Well, I guess there's nudist colonies and things exist.
I mean, I guess it's probably like a uniform at like nude beaches.
Right.
Right? Yeah.
Well, no, if you're at the beach, you're probably barefoot, right?
True,
You're
true.
walking through the sand.
Yeah.
Now, if you're doing like road paving at a nudist colony, then maybe you've got some steel toes on.
Sure.
Some work boots. Would you wear high vis and nothing else?
Are you allowed to wear high vis? I mean, technically it's see-through, so...
Right.
Yeah.
Technically, I'm still mostly naked, but also wearing high vis while naked, I would just feel like the eyes of the universe are on me.
I guess another thing is like, have you ever taken a shower without a shower curtain before? That's a moment where you feel like you feel way more naked.
You are exposed.
Yeah.
Like there is no protection. You are just in your most raw, natural state.
Yeah.
It's usually at like a campground or a cottage or a cabin or something like that.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, or if it's like an outdoor shower.
Dude, when I moved into the house, I didn't have one before Courtney moved in, and I was like, and you just like, you feel so exposed. You almost feel like that girl in like, what's that movie, The Bates Motel or whatever? Or Psycho. Just waiting for someone to come and get you.
But also, I don't know about you, but sometimes you have those moments where like, I get why people live in like nudist colonies or go to like nudist vacations, because there is also something freeing about like, when I have nobody in the house, I leave the door to the bathroom open when I have a shower.
Yeah.
The only reason I keep the curtain closed is to keep the water from getting on the floor. When you're walking around your own home naked, like, there is that sense of like, I'm vulnerable, but also I can do whatever I want.
You feel like a god.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
You feel like Caesar or something, you know?
Right. So do you think anybody's going to be in that naked bike ride in Toronto? Like no hands, just like arms crossed across their chest, just feeling it, you know?
Probably. I hope there's a dude on a unicycle at least.
I feel like unicycle naked is way more awkward than bicycle naked because you have too many flailing parts. Like, you watch someone on a unicycle, their arms are all over the place.
Yeah.
They're wagging their hips around trying to
Rollerblading naked's probably the worst. Oh. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Imagine a full X Games, but it's all nude.
The nude X Games?
Yeah.
Someone's doing the 900 on a skateboard, but their body's not rotating at all?
The vert ramp is too much, dude. Any sort of spin naked.
Every crash is 10 times more awful to watch.
Yeah. You honestly kind of hope it's a little bit cold just so you can like get the extra spin, you know? You don't...
Less drag?
Yeah. You don't want your hang time messing with your hang time, you know what I mean?
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Quentin texted in while we were talking about the naked bike ride, said, how much money would it take for one of you to do that event? Now, keeping in mind, it wouldn't be paid to you because I believe it's a charity, right?
Yeah.
How much money would have to be raised for charity for you to strip down and go on a bike ride in Toronto?
Donate like $200 and I'll do it.
200? That's it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty comfortable with being naked.
Oh my God. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm like a heavy set dude. I was in the thousands.
Yeah.
Sure. I think it's got to be like... Because people are going to take pictures. Those pictures are going to live forever.
Yeah.
I think it's got to be like 10K.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah. Maybe I undersold myself. I was going to say $200 and a good bike seat cover. Like.
Well, no. You just rent one of the ones from downtown and put it back when you're done. Yeah, I think, you know what it would be, though? Is it would take me 10 grand to get on the bike naked and to do the ride because I know the pictures are going to exist. But on the plus side, would there be anything more motivating for you to want to get in shape than a picture of you gut rolling around on a bicycle on some charity website that you can't even ask for it to be taken down?
I think it'd be one of those things like if you went to one of these nudist events where you'd go out there and all of a sudden you'd look around and you'd be like, I'm not doing too bad. You know what I mean?
That's true. In your head, it's always like, oh man, these people must be in amazing shape to do stuff like that. But then you actually see footage or pictures from like a nudist colony and you're like, oh no, y'all are just cool with it.
You're like, dude, I'm huge compared to some of these guys. And not in the size of weight, you know?
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Many times on this program, we have talked about how awful it is to fly in this country. The airplanes are getting smaller, more tightly packed. The tickets are getting more expensive. There's now tickets where you don't even get to bring a backpack onto the plane. But Air Canada, when they do something right, deserves some credit. They are now offering free beer and wine on flights within Canada and the U.S. until the end of 2024.
You know what this is? This is them trying to compete with that Porter Airlines.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever flown Porter before. They're fantastic. Lots of leg room, free meals. They've got the wine and the beer. That's what it is. Also, is Air Canada just trying to entice... like alcoholics, is that it? Like, do they
pretty much?
Do they think like someone's gonna be like free beer? Like,
I mean, honestly, when you think of most flights in this country, generally it becomes Air Canada versus WestJet.
Yeah,
and they're always trying to do something to make you lean more towards one way than the other. Remember when WestJet first got those screens in the back of all the seats?
Yeah.
And you'd go, well, if everything's the same, I'll take the ones with TVs.
Yeah.
There are honestly going to be people who go, if both flights cost the same and go the same route, I'll take the one that gives me a free beer.
Well, here's my thing about them giving out quote-unquote free beer.
Sure.
Are they going to give us a full can or not? Or are they going to do that BS that they do with the can of pop where they pour like a sip of it into a little Dixie cup with a bunch of ice? Like...
So the article that I'm reading, and it is from CTV, so I'm not 100% sure if this is just phrasing or if this is what they mean, but it says the free beer on tap and then goes on to list Canadian, Coors Light, Hop Valley.
Now, the other thing is it just one? Do you get one complimentary drink? Or are we talking, is it an all-you-can-drink buffet on the plane?
They do not specify in this news release how many you get. I have to assume it's one. Isn't it just one with pop as well? Like, have you ever gotten a second pop on an airplane?
The odd time I'll ask just for the can.
Sure.
And they'll give it to me, but
if you ask for a second can, if the flight's long enough, if you're doing a like Toronto
you usually
to
get a very
Vancouver,
passive-aggressive and then they'll go and do it, but
I just have to assume like they probably don't want you to have more than one.
Well, that's what I'm saying, right?
know?
Like, I mean, what are the parameters of free beer? You know, like if
Not even from a cost perspective. I just don't think you want people to get belligerent while trapped in a flying metal tube.
Yeah.
Like, oh, beer number 2, and here comes Dr. or Mr. Hyde. You know what I'm saying?
Hold up. They have party buses. What if we had a party plane?
Party plane.
Party plane, put a little pole in there and everything. Flashing lights, disco ball.
I think at this point you're just describing a private jet.
Yeah,
Is that not what that
No. I want an Air Canada, like an Air Canada Jazz private plane.
I still want to be buying a ticket and flying with complete strangers, but I want it to be a nightclub in the sky. Is what you're saying.
We're all just slugging mini bottles and.
Well, if you want spirits, that will still cost you money.
It's just beer and wine.
They said for $5 you can get things like Bailey's or tequila or rye, Canadian Club specifically.
Yeah.
So if you want the hard booze, the mini bottles are still going to cost you $5. It's just your one can of Coors Light that is on the house, so to speak.
I'm a big fan of airport beers. I don't know if I've ever actually drank on a plane before.
So remember a couple summers ago, I splurged just to see what it would be like, and I did that full first-class flight. They gave me a beer on that, and I didn't know what to do with myself. I was honestly just like, okay. It's more anxiety, I feel like, than it's worth.
Why?
I don't know why.
You drink it.
I understand you drink it. I'm saying I just felt like this wasn't the right place to drink.
Oh, okay.
It didn't feel right. Whereas you're right. I like an airport beer, a nice tall pint before you get on the plane. But once I got on the plane, I was just like, I don't know. This feels weird. I don't like it.
I will say, free beer on the plane could be dangerous. Dude, the lineup for the bathroom on there is going to be insane, dude. Everyone's going to break their seal like 10 minutes into the flight or something. As soon as that seatbelt button goes off, everyone's going to be lining up to take a leak.
The one beer stampede for the lavatory.
Oh, yeah. Breaking your seal on a plane is a nightmare, dude.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
They used to give free booze on the plane, all you wanted.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. We had a guy on our trip, and the stewardess liked him. By the time we got the other end, he was loaded.
Yeah, it's too expensive to drink on a plane now. Holy crap.
Yeah.
They used to give it to you, free booze the whole trip.
Damn, that's deadly. Smoking and drinking on the plane? What a world to live in, man.
I don't remember smoking, but I guess it was, but I don't remember it. But.
Yeah.
All those ashtrays that are still on the armrest tell me that it happened at least once.
Yeah.
I feel like being on an airplane would be a tough place to get drunk. Like, having to be buckled in and sitting down, and like, you can't get up and mingle or anything like that. Like you said, constantly having to go to them tiny little bathrooms.
Probably hit you faster, actually, at the altitude.
Yeah.
The question is he airsick or...
They've got the bags ready there for you, yeah.
The planes that have the ashtrays, how old are they actually that you're flying on?
I choose not to think about that as someone who still has to fly about once or twice a year. I don't want to know the answer to that.
This is the Brock and Dalby Podcast.
If there is a fruit tree or bush that borders a sidewalk, is the fruit up for grabs publicly? Now, this started with somebody in my neighborhood that has an apple tree that reaches out near to the sidewalk, and they have sort of reached out to the neighborhood via Facebook already this season, saying, please don't take all of my apples this year. I guess this has been a problem. But basically, if you have long enough arms as you're walking by this person's front yard,
You can snag one.
you can snag an apple. And I want to get people's thoughts, like, is it up for grabs? Is it wrong to take an apple off a tree while the apple is growing on someone else's property?
I'll say this. If you're like my neighbor and it's hanging over into my yard, absolutely I'm going to take it.
Sure.
And then again, if it's like hanging over onto like a public trail or anything like that,
Yeah.
I feel like it's up for grabs. I mean, technically, if you're going on someone's property,
That's where you would draw the line?
that's where I draw the line.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it feels weird to walk onto someone's yard to go pick something, but
Sure.
I mean, let's get real. You probably have so many damn apples that you're not even going to eat, so is it technically like stealing from you? Not really. Like,
I get what you're saying on that, in that, like, most people who have some sort of a fruit tree, fruit bush, whatever it is, have an abundance. They are not hurting for the product.
bush is a different story. I wouldn't touch no street bush.
No?
No. You see dogs? You see dogs around these neighborhoods, dude? How many dogs are probably peeing on those things? How many sometimes you get wanderers through your neighborhood peeing on things.
You wouldn't take like a handful of berries, go home and give them a quick wash, and then snack on
I
them?
wouldn't trust no street berries. Absolutely not, dude. No way.
If it's hanging out of dog range, we'll say.
Yeah.
But it's in arm's reach, you think it's okay.
If it's above waist level, then it's safe
fine.
to eat. I mean, I don't even know what's safe to eat, but you know what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah.
I think, I get where you're coming from. I think we're both fully in agreement. If your feet are hitting somebody's property, you're being a dink.
Also, there's a difference between snagging one and then showing up with a basket and going like apple picking.
Oh, sure, yeah. If you're bushel picking out of somebody else's apple tree, you're not a good person.
Yeah.
But even then, if you grab, say you're a kid walking to school and you grab a fresh apple off this person's tree every morning, that's going to add up after a while.
I guess. Yeah.
I think it is one of those things where I think it's I think you got to ask. I think unless there's some sort of signage outside, even if you can snag one from where you're at without going on the property, I think you're still taking something that belongs to someone else.
Yeah, but if you got a crab apple tree, get real. How much are you really using those crab apples?
Dude, we had a crab apple tree when I lived in Grand Prairie, so this is 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was a nightmare. Every year we were begging people, please come take these
That's what I'm
crab
saying,
apples.
right? Yeah.
But if it's a full-on apple tree, then that's just deliciousness that's walking out the door.
The Brock and Dobby Podcast.
We're definitely split on the text line, 762-555, of people who are saying if you can reach an apple on someone else's apple tree, you should be more than in your rights to take it and eat it. And other people saying, don't touch my stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I just go back to the thing that I said before. If you've got an apple tree, you've probably got a plethora of apples.
Someone
a few
did
of them
text
aren't
in.
going to make a difference if they're gone.
Someone did text in and say that they had so many people picking that they only got one apple off their own apple tree by the time the frost came last year. So that is also, I suppose, to that person you could say, well, why weren't you out there picking before the other people were? But again, I don't think you should have to rush to pick your own fruit off your own property.
Well, here's the thing. If they've fallen on the ground, can I pick it up then? If you've let it fall on the ground and you're letting it die, then can I pick it up? That I think
is actually fair. I think that's actually reasonable. That is, it's essentially the same idea as when you take your trash to the curb, it stops being yours. If your fruit rolls to the front of your lawn on the ground,
you're asking for it.
You're basically, not to be that guy.
You're asking for it.
You had it coming or
anything. Yeah. You shouldn't leave your yard like that. Then I wouldn't have to do it.
Someone else did text in too saying hey, if you got an apple tree and it's growing out to where people can get it, trim it back, otherwise you're kind of asking for it. Again, don't necessarily the phrasing of putting the blame on the people, but is that about the only thing you can do to protect your, if you have an apple tree and you don't want people...
I mean, you could spray it with chemicals if you really wanted to go there, right?
Now nobody can eat
Give
these.
them a surprise, I guess.
Put some chili spice on it, because you'll know. You could walk in and wash it off and it would be fine, but anybody who grabs it right off the tree is going to have an awful surprise as they're walking by.
Yeah. I mean, you could also just put up signs like how people do to get dogs not to pee on their grass or poo on their grass.
Oh,
right?
yeah, those work 100% of the time.
Yeah, true.
We've all seen someone walk their dog right onto a lawn that says, please keep off grass.
Yeah.
And let them do their business.
You could get motion sensor sprinklers or something, I guess.
Oh, see, now that I do like, because it's harmless. It's just a little bit of water. But if you are coming onto somebody else's property, you kind of deserve to get a little bit of a...
Yeah.
It's like the way that you would spray your dog or cat with a water bottle if they were doing something wrong. It's only going to take a few times of you getting sprayed before you stop trying to steal my apples.
Yeah.
Is it bad that my first thought was how do you run current through an apple tree? Give people a little shock when they go to... I'm not saying anything that's going to put you on your ass or anything.
Sure.
But just a little something that lets you know that wasn't yours for the taking.
Same kind of current that makes the dog not go past the grass. You know?
That's what we need. We need invisible fences for humans to
Or
keep
just
them
put
off
up
our
one of those
stuff.
signs that says all trespassers will be shot, but instead all apple pickers will be shot. Something like that.
I don't know if that holds up. I don't think the bylaw would be okay with that. If they drove by and saw you threatening to shoot fruit pickers.
What happened to freedom? I thought this was Canada.
The Brock and Dobby Podcast.
I was in Florida visiting some friends. The neighbors have a grapefruit tree that overhung the fence. You bet your bottom dollar that I was picking grapefruit. If you can reach them, they're yours.
That's what I'm saying, dude. And if you got some hang time over the fence, then like if you're invading on other property, public property, then like this way she goes.
Because if I'm not mistaken, a lot of bylaws and stuff, if a tree branch is growing over someone's fence onto your property, you have the right to trim it.
Yeah.
So all you do is at that point, you just trim the tree full of apples.
I was making the tree a little more healthy because the branches weren't sagging and breaking off.
Exactly. You're doing due diligence, dude.
I'm not going to lie. Some people who've texted in, their arguments are pretty weak. You guys might be winning me over on this one.
I used to do the same thing in college, man. If someone's beer was half drank, I'd finish it for them.
I think that's different.
You're going to leave it sitting around. I
think that's a little bit different, bud.
I think I'd draw the line on that one.
You're going to leave a roach in the ashtray. I'm going to smoke it, brother.
Roaches are different than backwash.
I'm back on the other side now. I'm back on the side I started of leave people stuff.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are we not stealing fruit because we're broke?
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
I saw a story from Guelph today that they are taking their next step as the country and different municipalities all continue to work on banning single-use plastics for the sake of the environment. Apparently, starting next year, restaurants in Guelph will be forced to accept reusable containers brought to restaurants by customers. So basically means
you can bring your own Tupperware?
You can bring your own Tupperwares and lidded cups when you go out to restaurants. And if you don't finish your meal or if you're just doing takeout.
Was there ever a rule against doing that?
I don't think there's specifically a rule against it. I just think currently restaurants can say no.
I mean, like, as someone who worked in a kitchen, I mean, it's one less thing you have to do.
Yeah.
Like grab the doggy bag, the box, whatever it is. Like, why haven't people been doing this forever, honestly?
I just imagine if you were working at the restaurant, like you're the server for the table, and you know that they're winding down, you're heading over to ask the question, do you want me to get a box for you? And you just see them go under the table and just start pulling out Tupperware and just loading it up themselves.
I wouldn't be mad about it,
You would
though.
be like, oh, that's sick.
Yeah.
I'll go get your bill. We're good here.
I feel like the only time like that wouldn't be cool is if it's like a buffet. They probably wouldn't let it slide.
That's the first thing I was thinking of is like, because most of those places, if it's all you can eat, there is some sort of penalty in the menu if you take a bunch of food and don't eat it.
Sure.
I'm sure the penalty still applies if you start putting it in your own Tupperware.
Dude, oh my gosh. Great idea, because like summer's upon us.
Yes.
There's so many random events where you're going to hear like, oh, free barbecue at this local business. The fire department's got a cookout, whatever it is.
Okay.
Free pizza at work. Dude, if you hear of an event that's going down, bring some Tupperware.
Just start loading up. Dude,
there's no rules against it.
If we had every now and again, inside baseball here, when we have big meetings in the office, they bring pizza in. If you showed up with a Tupperware and just started loading up on it, somebody's going to say something.
I don't know.
Right?
I don't get a bonus, so I feel like that's equal. Am I wrong on that?
You know what? When you phrase it like that, I'll bring Tupperware too.
You're going to leave all this pizza in the fridge to go bad? There's kids in Africa who would die for that, man. That's the move, dude. If you know you're going to be somewhere where there's a ton of free food, how many events have you worked where you see them just throwing out hot dogs and hamburgers?
100%. At the end of the day, you always end up making more than you need because you don't want to disappoint anybody.
Yeah.
And if somebody came by at the end of the day with a Tupperware and was like, trick or treat.
Yeah. They're only just going to throw them in the garbage, like cue to the Sarah McLachlan as the sad hot dog falls to the bottom. Like,
yo, is there anyone in town doing a pancake breakfast anytime soon?
Load up.
I'm going to bring a Tupperware and my kids.
Yeah.
Damn, I read this and I was like, this is kind of an interesting but weird idea. But now that you've said it, I think Guelph is onto something.
Tupperware is the move, guys. Keep a thing in your car at all times.
Keep that thing on you.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Ed's word of the day.
Let's see what he's got.
Good morning. Today's word is tetchy. Yeah, tetchy. Tetchy. Teachy, I guess. I don't know. Teachy. Tetchy, TT, whatever. Anyway, it's overly sensitive. I don't know. Get over it. Don't be so touchy. Teachy. Anyway, that's about it. Cheers her up. Have a great one.
All right, let's see which pronunciation it actually is.
Tetchy.
Yeah,
Tetchy.
It is tetchy. I think the only place I've ever heard it, because it could also, like he says, it's overly sensitive. It can also mean like overly nervous. A TV show called Firefly. I can remember one of the characters talking about a situation where everybody like had their finger on their gun. It was like, everybody's a mite tetchy in here. And I think that's the only time I've ever heard that word in my life.
I mean, like irritable as well, kind of
It
thing?
can,
I
yeah.
guess?
If you're like sensitive, if you're wound up, if you're nervous, if you're basically any kind of almost like a negative anxiety.
Like if your
type.
buddy just broke up with his girlfriend, it's a tetchy subject, I guess you could say.
Yeah. You probably don't want to bring it up too often, or you probably also, even if they're not broken up, you don't want to let them know that you don't care for the significant other, because that's only going to make them tetchy.
Oh, okay. I mean, if someone's just in a bad mood, you just call them tetchy, I guess.
Yeah, the problem is it's one of those words that's got a sound to it where if you call them tetchy, you're only going to make them tetchier. Mm-hmm. It's not going to get better.
It's one of those words that makes me feel itchy. I don't know why. Isn't it? Like, the more we keep saying tetchy, like, I feel like...
Literally just scratch my neck.
Yeah, I don't know why the word makes me itchy.
Maybe subconsciously I'm feeling the
I've got
same
like this
way.
weird feeling on the back of my legs as we keep saying the word tetchy.
You know what it is?
Yeah.
It makes you feel tetchy.
It makes you feel tetchy. That's what it is. Tetchy. Use it wherever you can today.
I do not like it in rapid succession. It does not sound great like that. It feels...
For more Brock and Dalby, tune in weekday mornings 5:30 to 9.
The Brock and Dalby podcast is brought to you by BaDShop.ca, the Brock and Dalby merch store. With all proceeds going to the Canadian Cancer Society.